welcome once again to Ewtn's Bookmark. Our guest author is our radio host, Dr. Guarendi. This book is entitled Winning the Discipline Debates, and it's published by Servant Books.
Hi, Doug.
Always great to have you here. We hear you on the radio all the time, in a sense, debating, sometimes with parents and sometimes other experts out there, about things like winning the discipline debates. I mean, some people think that either you shouldn't have discipline, or the kind of discipline they talk about certainly seems to be so kind of lax and negotiating based, and let's kind of let us come and reason together. Remember that old expression?
Win-win scenarios.
That's right.
Let us set up win-win scenarios.
Right. But that's not what you're talking about that we should be doing. But when you say discipline, are you also talking about physical discipline?
Could be. Mm-hmm. That's what most people, I don't want to say. That's what a lot of people still think of. Mm-hmm. They think of spanking as discipline. But that's only one aspect of discipline. And I tell parents, it can't be your main one.
Right.
If spanking is your main discipline, the average preschooler misbehaves 20 times a day. What are you going to do? You gonna spank them 20 times a day? You can't do that. Right. It's got to be something almost you use as a spice.
Right. Okay. Right. For the to leave, in a sense, an imprint. So
bad choice of words there.
To
have an impact?
Yes, there you go. An imprint in the mind is what I was going to say. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing too, and that's what people would say, is sometimes you have to have these things in the past, so it allows that to become something that can be used to remind somebody not to misbehave in the future, because...
All the experts wouldn't like that, Doug.
Because
you are such a Neanderthal.
I am. Cro-Magnon actually is where I set up my discipline.
The experts would say discipline, punishment, doesn't necessarily teach anything. It just stops behavior through the presence of the punisher. Therefore, the child learns to avoid the punisher. He doesn't internalize the lesson. That's what I was taught.
I remember they used to say that about memorization too. Until
you don't learn anything.
You learn anything.
Trained chimp can memorize
right. Information. Right, exactly. But let me ask you. Speaking of chimps and three-ring circus kind of things, which
please don't allude to my home.
Okay? Things like that. I noticed in this particular book, you kind of have a very interesting format that I'd like you to talk about, how you decided to do it this way. Because the subtitle is, Dr. Ray coaches parents to make discipline less frequent, less frustrating, and more consistent. Now, one of the things that's consistent about this is that you're in the middle of everything. Whose idea was that?
Years ago, a lady came into my office. We talked about handling her 4-year-old. She said to me, can't you just come to my house? Can't you show me hands-on how to do this? Now, you'd think, well, that's a reasonable request. It just so happened this lady was a PhD clinical psychologist who was being eaten alive by her 4-year-old. As a clinical psychologist, she reasoned. She set up positive win-win interactions. She used sticker systems. She did all the psychologically appropriate things, and this kid was eating her for lunch. I went there, guided her on how to deal with this kid. Idea percolated in my mind for a while, and I said, what if I set up scenarios, standard battleground scenarios, and then I step into the scene. I either offer advice, I offer coaching, I offer an option, I offer some kind of assessment of the child's motive.
Even sometimes a couple of different options, depending on how the child reacted, right?
That's exactly right. Those scenarios are the TV show that we have through Ewtn.
Right, exactly right.
We have a segment called Living It Out.
Right, so people who are familiar with the TV show would be familiar with some of the premises.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you here, you say, no ended inside the books proposing the psychologically correct ways to communicate with children. I could say it, I can't even communicate with kids. But you talk about the fact that I thought that was interesting, that these books are contradictory. And some would say, well, why do they write them? Sometimes I think people write books because if they don't come up with a new idea, a new way, they can't sell any new books and they can't sell any new textbooks. And then what do you do?
I call it the expert stretch.
Okay.
The expert stretch is this. Doug, I'm a trained professional. You're just a father. So therefore, when I offer any advice and insights, I have to be somewhere in the psychological stratosphere that you can't go. You're just a dad. If I can't do that, if I give you advice and you say, well, Ray, come on, I mean, that's kind of traditional wisdom. Is that what you got for your PhD? No, I stretch. And in stretching, sometimes I leave behind good sense. I got to come up with this idea, you know, this new technique psychologically that's going to get kids to say, "Oh, Father, I've been so blind. Thank you for explaining it to me such." It's pressure to stretch.
Well, I thought one solution you had right at the beginning was simply for parents to talk louder, right, than their children, right? I thought that was actually probably the most reliable solution to most of the things in this book.
But it is
louder.
true. Talk
Right?
louder. Stand taller.
Right. No one, and I thought this was good too, and I think this is important for all of us. No one communication size fits all kids, or for that matter, stops all kids fits, right?
Like a little play on words there.
Right. And it's kind of like, I always think about spirituality in the Catholic Church, is that idea that there's different modes of spirituality for different people in different places. And you just don't have one and say, this is the way it has to be. Because it doesn't work that way for people. People are different.
I'll tell parents. All right, you go up to your kid and you say, Eve, it's bedtime, sweetheart. Would you like to get ready for bed now? I would really like that if you did. And Eve goes, why, yes, Mother, I will. And she goes to bed.
I saw that commercial.
Did you? Yes, for my book. Well, then go ahead, do that. Don't be intimidated because, well, I don't have to discipline. I just tell her and she did it. Well, great, count your blessings. You got a mulligan round from God. You got a freebie. He said, here, play with this and I'll save the real
And because
kids
it's
later.
that way now, doesn't mean it's going to be that way down the road.
Eve's going to grow. Eve's good. You know, parents will say to me, she has never done this before, ever. I go, well, has she ever been 12 before?
Right.
Well, yeah, sure. But if in fact, and I say this throughout the book, if any of this kind of debating, I hate the word debating because it sounds like this interchange that goes on and on, which
It's in
you
the
don't
title
want.
of your book.
I know it.
Okay.
That's the
Is that your idea or the
publisher did it.
publisher? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they did. Yeah. If that kind of, how shall we say, reasoning works, well, go ahead. God bless you.
Now you say, with this as my guide, I propose some ideas for talking to children, more specifically talking to children in a confident, disciplined voice. What is a confident, disciplined voice?
I mean what I say, and I'm going to back it up. I'm prepared. I'm going to assume, this is because I'm a highly trained professional, that you had a father. Did you have a father?
Yes.
Okay. Did your father have the look?
Oh, well, yes, or the shoulder. I
Yeah,
would say.
okay. Is that what you need? Okay.
The shoulder.
Or the glasses.
Yeah, the shoulder was my dad's.
Or the-
Right. It's like you talk about the miles per hour in the family, knowing that, you know, mom was 35 miles per hour, dad was about 20 miles per hour.
That was the school zone. Mom was the Autobahn.
Right. So you had to know who
So
you
your
could push
dad's
more.
confident, disciplined voice was not even a voice. He didn't speak. But there was something about your father where you went, okay, Dad, I got it. I got your message here. It was the perception of that authority. When you get into debates with a kid, you lose authority as you're debating. Oh, you may win 22 minutes from now because you got mad. Or he saw that you were getting so irritated that he better just back off. Okay. But you lost a lot of authority because I engaged you at your level instead of simply saying, you know, now I asked you nice, please go to that corner. You don't go to that corner and I'm taking all your privileges away until you do. That's two sentences.
Is that your blackout?
That's my blackout. Yeah, that's in there.
Right.
Parents love that, by the way.
Right.
It's like it empowers them.
Right.
And they never thought of it.
Yeah, it's like unplugging all the devices. Right?
I have never had a parent come into my office yet who has said, well, you know, when he didn't listen to me, here's what I did. When I say blackout, they have this, really?
Right.
Can I do that? My wife one time when the kids wouldn't do their schoolwork, yeah, she gave them lunch. Green beans. That's what she got, green beans. I said, hey, quit complaining. I got to eat your mother's cooking.
That's right.
Because you got the green beans. That's right.
Well, it's interesting because years ago that would have been a thing you'd say to your parents would say to you, well, because of that, you go to your room. I don't want you to come out. You can't watch TV. Now you go to the room, the kid's thrilled because he's got a multiplicity of devices there to use.
Side by side
his own virtual
refrigerator,
reality.
freezer, yeah.
Right. So you need that blackout and says, if you're going to do this or wherever you're going to go, you can't do anything.
Everything. Right. And parents don't understand what that means. If I say, well, you're going to grandma's house, he's not going to get dessert there, is he? Well, I never. Well, he's on blackout. He doesn't get dessert. Right. You're going to a restaurant? He's not going to eat, is he? You're going to give him a sandwich before you go. What? Oh, not eat? No, he ate. He had a sandwich. Oh, I guess. Right. Take your daughter's curling iron? Oh, no. Oh, no. I never even thought of that. Take her curling iron, so she's blacked out. Right. She's basically saying to you, Dad, I'm not going to do what you tell me. I'm not going to write the essay. I'm not going to go to my room. I am not going to stop yelling at my brother. Right. Okay.
Is it also because kids today, in many ways, especially as they get older, in the empowerment society we live in today, the reality is their view becomes, well, you're obligated to do these things for me.
That's exactly it. And parents believe it too. Mm-hmm. They believe it. I always tell parents, if you want to know how much the kid thinks this is your obligation and not a privilege, watch how angry they get if you take it. Mm-hmm. If you take a privilege from me, Doug, okay, I may not like it, I'll get upset. Right. You take a right from me, look out.
Talking about your other book, Fairness.
Yeah.
That's unfair. That's not fair.
I tell parents, you want to know how attached she is to that cell phone? Take it once. Mm-hmm. She'd go crazy. She'd go crazy. She would go absolutely crazy. I go, that's right, because she perceives that as a right of being 14. And you have no right to even consider using that as discipline.
Chapter 2, Night Days, you say life is wired backward. What do you mean?
Okay. Now, preschoolers, they fight sleep, they don't want to go to bed, and they don't want to take a nap. They fight eating. I don't want to eat. Okay. You and I, do you get enough naps?
Not as many as
I don't.
like
That's
at my
exactly
age,
right.
That's for sure.
And wouldn't you like to go to the buffet?
Especially if people come and disturb me while I'm sleeping in my office.
Well, I've done that a few times. Doug! And I want to go to the buffet and eat 3 plates. I can't. So God's going, here's what I'll do. I'll make it so they can eat and sleep as much as they want, and they won't want to. And then I'll make it so that they can't eat and sleep as much as they want, and they'll really want to. That's life's wired backwards.
Now you say dealing with that the idea is when you're up in the middle of the night dealing with a child who's maybe not doing what you'd like them to do, that because of your own tiredness, it may not be the best time to do the discipline, even with the situation at 2 o'clock in the morning. On the other hand, if sleep is a must, the discipline can be delayed. How would you delay it? What's an example of that?
Standard rule I give parents. Let's say that the kid is, and I would say at least 50% or more of preschoolers fight bedtime. Mm-hmm. They either get up in the middle of the night, stand by, and the parent says, she's laying there and she feels this presence. Mm-hmm. There's this kid right. standing there like this, which my wife reacts when she wakes up in the middle of the night and sees me.
Like, that's right.
Oh, it's me, honey.
It's a recurring nightmare.
Yes, it is. I tell the parents, okay, here's your rule. When it's bedtime, we say our prayers, we do our bedtime. You get out of bed after I put you there. For any reason, you already went to the bathroom. Mommy, would you come and pray with me? I want to pray the rosary in Aramaic while we levitate, okay? Any reason, tomorrow, all privileges are gone. I'll tell you what, Doug, you do something like that as a parent, within 2 days, the parents are saying, oh yeah, he's in bed. And you know what else? He fell asleep within 3 minutes. That's right, because he needs sleep.
So you extinguish that behavior.
Extinguish. You remember your behavior psychology 101?
Extinguishing that behavior. Yes, I'm still Masloving myself here, Skinnering myself or whatever. But anyway, in Champion's Cliff Diver, and this is one I think a lot of people deal with, the grandparent who protects their grandchild from his parents' proper discipline not only undercuts the parent's discipline, but also hurts the child she means to help. I'm assuming that happens a lot, especially in the world we live in today, where many times the grandparents may in fact be the ones who are watching the kids on a regular basis, right?
These are not the same people who raised us. These are old people now trying to get into heaven.
Right.
My dad used to do this. We would be out to eat. My daughter would be on blackout. And the waitress would come and JoJo wouldn't order. And my dad would go, Ray, she's not going to eat. Mm-hmm. I go, no, Dad, she's on blackout. You can't do that. Ray, I go, Pop, you had no problems doing it to me when I was a kid. What happened? What happened to your testosterone here? A lot of times the grandparents, for whatever the reason, will subtly or overtly undercut the parents.
Even if they don't mean to.
They don't mean, not out of maliciousness necessarily. So what then tends to happen is the parent is forced into making a scene. I don't care what grandma said, you go sit on the steps. Okay, now you got the friction. I tell the parents, okay, you want to deal with that, you deal with it at home. You tell the child, usually about age 3.5, 4 on up, they understand this. You know what, honey? If we go to grandma's and I tell you to do something, you better do it. If grandma says no, and you listen to grandma, when we get home, I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to do more. So you better just tell grandma, no, grandma, I need to listen to mom.
In chapter 4, Up for the Count, you say preschoolers count to show how smart they are. Grown-ups who count when disciplining preschoolers aren't being too smart. So telling somebody, if you're not doing this, I'm going to count to 3. That's not a good idea.
Well, you know what it does? There's danger in a count.
Okay.
A count can become your discipline. Get in here now. 1, 2. Get in here. You see what happens if there's nothing backing that count up, and your count becomes your consequence, all but the most obtuse kid is going to realize, hey, there's nothing behind that count. The other thing it does, Doug, is this. Okay, I'm going to ask for your cooperation, but you can delay it. I really don't expect you to cooperate when I ask. We're going to delay it. Now, you got to...
So I've got a grace period.
You got a grace period.
Really got to do it what you're asking me to do.
Exactly right. And you got the 3 count, and I've had some parents use the metric system, the 10 count.
Oh, really?
There are 8, 9.
I think it sounds like a heavyweight boxing bout
That's
there.
it. Mandatory 8 count.
Right. And in Know Your Audience, I thought this was interesting too. You talk about the idea of parents being in a situation where they kind of disagree about punishment or discipline in front of the kids. And in that you say the notion lurking beneath this mom-dad disagreement is a common one you call psychological correctness. What is that?
When parents argue, usually it's because, well, you're not handling this right. Here's how you handle it. This is the right way to handle it. As opposed to, for example, a rule that worked in our house well. When my wife and I disagreed over discipline, the rule was this. The parent who disciplines rules. In other words, I may not send the boys from the table for burping the alphabet. I like when boys burp the alphabet. Remember, you can go all the way to M or N without taking a breath. Now, that's a talent you got to have. Well, my wife, she didn't like that, especially when we were sitting with the priest. Okay, at the table.
Right, understood.
So they start to burp, and I'm like, L, come on, M. And she'd go, Peter, go sit down, please. Now, if I turn, honey, he's just burping the alphabet. This is not a moral issue,
sweetheart.
That's what
boys do.
Yeah, that's what boys do.
Why you're embarrassing him
he
in
didn't
front
say
of
pull my finger,
Right.
okay? So I learned to shut up. She sends him from the table. Many parents who battle over this psychological correctness, it's a, I'm right. No, sir, I'm right kind of thing. I tell the guys, there's 2 factors here. I tell the guys, protect your wife.
Right.
Step in when she's being mistreated by a child or she's debating with the child. You hear this, don't just sit in the Barker Lounger thinking, I can't tell which one of them's a 12-year-old.
Right.
Get in there and say, that's your mom. I'm going to deal with this.
Right.
I tell the ladies, if your husband's a good man and he is a loving father, then let him be a man. If he says, you two, split and sit, if she's thinking, ooh, that's kind of autocratic, don't make a woman out of him. That's his style. He's less wordy. He's a little more intimidating. Okay, he's a guy. And all the research says this. Guys discipline differently.
Right. Do you think also sometimes, even as we talk about in some other things where people, in your other book and probably elsewhere in this book, that idea of that simmering and things that are going on, that sometimes people will use that as an occasion because really what they're doing is they're using this because there's other issues maybe even going on between the parents. And this is an opportunity to kind of use that.
They'll come into my office because this 9-year-old's driving them nuts. Within 2 sessions, you're seeing what's going on in that marriage. And there's a lot of alliances being formed. You know, mom is protecting the kids from dad because he's not fair. Or dad is frustrated with mom because it's like she's putting the kids above me. Okay, yeah, the marital issues come out real quick.
This was another one, kind of an old, I guess it's a canard, swinging siblings. In chapter 9, you say, mom is falling back on one of the more unrealistic, not to mention awful child-rearing dictums. Let siblings solve their own disagreements.
All right. I'm a 10-year-old boy. You're a 6-year-old girl. We get into a disagreement. Am I going to say, you know, I remember what it was like to be a 6-year-old girl. Why don't we do this? You play with it for 20 minutes, and then I'll play. No, no, no. You play with it for 30 minutes because you're younger. No, the dominant child's going to win. And sometimes the dominant child is even the younger child, okay? The dominant child will win. If they solve it themselves, somebody's going to get hurt. But this is the old conflict resolution thing. Children need to learn conflict resolution skills. Yes, they do, but not on the head of a sibling. If the parent says, solve it yourselves, no name calling, no hitting, no tormenting, no nastiness, okay, you've set ground rules. But all too often, the parents will say, because the experts have told them, I don't get involved, let them work it out. And they're not equally matched.
You know, parents don't want fairness, they want quiet.
They want peace.
Yeah.
They want peace. Sibling quibbling is one of those problems, Doug, that is a high frequency misbehavior. You know, we had 10 kids in our home. So we had to put those eye in the sky things up, you know, that they use at Vegas to kind of monitor. We couldn't figure out who did what to whom, when, where, and how
So you
much.
got drones now
We
flying in the
had
house.
drones, that's so true. Well, as opposed to my daughter who could quite drone for hours at a time. So we never knew. We never knew who did what. Whenever as the frequency of a misbehavior goes up, your consistency goes down. This is happening 24 times a day. I discipline you for it once a day. My discipline consistency level is 4%. You see what happens? Parents will go, I can't stop them. They fight constantly, and I can't do anything about it, and discipline doesn't work. Yeah, but your discipline is occurring a small fraction of the amount of time they're mistreating each other.
I like this. You had a good solution here at the end of chapter 9. There's only one foolproof way to reduce sibling quibbling to zero. Allow only one child at a time to live in your home.
Well, that is true.
Have you had people who've taken that piece of advice from you?
And that was a problem in our home with 10 children at Christmas time. You know, who got to come in during Christmas time? You know, we played favorites. Yeah.
Well, the other one here, I'm honest. And you say, why do some kids lie, even when caught? For most kids, twisting or flat out denying the truth arises from one simple motive, avoiding trouble. That was the great line from the movie A Christmas Story, where kids know better. It's never better not to admit that you did anything wrong.
When you got this much chance to squirt through a crack, you're going to sit there. Parents will say to me, oh my gosh, I saw him. I had it on video. He's looking going, that's not me. That's a stunt kid. I don't know. See how you can't see my face? I don't know who that kid is.
That was photoshopped.
Yeah, yes,
that's not true.
Exactly
That's not
right.
true.
They'll deny, and that drives parent crazy. Lying is a very hard behavior to extinguish because good liars don't get caught all the time.
Have you seen more, and I think I've seen this somewhat in my experience in business and other things like that, is, you know, you used to see it in kids, but now you see it in adults, where it used to be that if somebody did something wrong, they would kind of own up to it at some point. Today, people don't own up to anything. I guess it's just this kind of reductionistic idea that, you know, anything I do is okay by me, and if it doesn't prick my conscience to lie to you about something because it helps me, then that's fine, and I don't want to get in trouble.
We've become a culture who relies on consequences as opposed to morals. You can't know if I'm lying, so there's no consequences.
Right. The end justifies
so
the
I'm
means.
gonna lie. Yeah. Why would I even tell you?
So there's a lot in here that we didn't get to. Your advice. I noticed you dedicated this to your mom and your pop. Your first book was there when they were here. This one's for them in the hereafter.
Mom and pop passed away. It's funny how that is, Doug, isn't it? I mean, I'm an Italian family, so your mother is your mother until the day she dies. Raymond, you want something to eat? No, Mom, I just went to the buffet. I'm going to throw up. Well, here's a sandwich. No, Mom, I'm full. You got your sweater on? It's kind of cold in here. Oh, no, I'm doing fine, Mom. Well, why don't you know, Raymond, you're not doing it. It's my mom was my mom. And I miss her desperately, and my dad, too.
Just before we go, another book in the works?
Yeah, it's a manuscript form right now. It's the only way I get you to come and visit me.
That's right, or vice versa.
Right, yeah. And by the way, Ray Guarendi, not Roy Ganuti, which you said when we...
Is that what I said?
That's what you said. Roy Ganuti.
Okay, I thought that's how your name got mispronounced when your family came into the country at Ellis Island. Is that not incorrect?
17-year-old grandfather, 8-year-old grandmother. He was 27. She was 15. He married her after 3 visits to her father's house where they sat on opposite ends of the room like this. And they married. And didn't last. 52 years.
Didn't. Okay. That's what happens. Well, we're just out of time.
Thanks, Doug.
Always a pleasure. Dr. Ray Guarendi. This one is Winning the Discipline Debates. Dr. Ray coaches parents to make discipline less frequent, less frustrating, and more consistent. And it's published by Servant. Consistently good. Available through the EWTN Religious Catalog. Check it out. Join us next time right here on Bookmark.